November 1st. Oh, they're already putting Christmas stuff up? This is way too soon. September 1st. Yes. Good. Hello everybody, it's your favorite West Virginia Space here, and Blue's Clues. Specifically, the newer movie, the newer one I say, is that it had a little detail where it mentions that Josh, the newest host, has magic of some variety. It's not terribly well explained, and I really feel that they could have went into, but whatever, we just didn't have the time for that, I guess. Oh well. But it did get me thinking of how something that never quite made sense in the show, if you think about it, is the power of skidooing. Now, this is not terribly well explained, other than it seems to be the fact that Blue taught Steve and the others roughly how to do it. But the thing is, this ability is extremely overlooked, to the point where it could easily make Steve, which I'm going to use as a focal point, one of the most powerful characters in fiction. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's back up and start from the beginning. Using a skidoo is pretty simple. Just find a picture, a book, or something of that nature. You do the little dance, sing a little song, and then you skidoo in there. And that's a pretty simple step. Then all of a sudden, you're exactly where the picture or book said you were inside the book. It kind of depends on the episode. And that's a pretty simple setup, but some details are never fully explained about the ability. Is that, what is it exactly? Like, there's two rough camps you could go into. One is that it simply goes into the actual painting or book in question, and therefore it does not actually take the individual skidooing anywhere inside that fictional media, which is pretty impressive, because that either means that it implies that all fictional stuff in the world of Blue's Clues is live/real to some degree, or the second and probably more likely option, given certain details we see, that it allows the user to travel to where that picture or book represents. So if they see a picture of the jungle, they go into the jungle. They don't go into the picture of the jungle, they go into the actual jungle, or at least whatever jungle it's meant to represent. I'm going to go with the second interpretation, simply there's a few episodes and details that kind of support that theory, like the fact that they're able to go to different places on Earth, which seem to imply that's just a straight teleportation ability. And one last detail to mention, this is a common misconception actually. Most people, when you talk about, will assume that you have to have Blue with you to skidoo. This is not actually true, as we see all three hosts at least once skidoo without Blue present, so it's just an ability they know. But okay, it's pretty simple. How is this broken? Well, it just takes a little bit of thought, my friend. The immediate first thing that should come to your mind is simply how fast this type of travel is. We don't get any confirmation if there's a limit to how far a skidooing can be to its place, although we've seen it go pretty far things, so I'm led to believe it either doesn't have a solid limit, or that limit is stupidly long. And if it's traveling between universes, then I got no clue how far that limit could be. But ultimately, it allows the user to travel anywhere with extreme speed. Need to get to the edge of the universe? Well, just take a skidoo and you're there. There is the limitation, seemingly, that it has to be of a picture of a thing. So presumably, you either need to take a picture or write a book about the thing you already saw, or someone needs to, or you have to have some way of representing it to allow the skidoo to happen. Also, to my knowledge, no one has ever skidooed into something they could take with them. So theoretically, since this assumes to work like a portal of some sort, that kind of implies that you can't just pull one up on your phone and then keep your phone with you. The phone stays behind, you're using it as a portal. This does actually put a limitation on the power, as it requires you to have something on you at all times that allows you to skidoo to the place you want, and only to that place. Granted, that of course still leaves a lot of room, because even if we look at the actual thing, the setup is pretty fast. It only takes a couple of seconds, and remember, all these hosts are kind of joking around with it. They aren't doing it with great speed, so it's entirely possible that one could rush this to be extremely fast. Now, I'm not going to say it's like fast as a bullet or anything, that's absurd, but the point is, if you have even just a few seconds to know that an opponent's going to attack you, or your base is compromised or whatever, just skidoo when you're out of there, because unless your opponent knows how to skidoo, they just can't follow you. Like Captain America, I'm maybe very easily able to beat up Steve in a fight, but they can't just teleport to Mars. They would have to get in a spaceship or something. So this ability has a pretty obvious use. However, there was a more interesting secondary use. Now, beyond the instant travel, essentially, which of course is broken as all heck, is that it also allows the user to take things out with them. aka you can go back and forth and bring things from one Skidoo to another. Meaning that if you had a Skidoo of, say, I don't know, an armory somewhere, you could then theoretically take all those weapons back out with you and start doing some crazy shenanigans. And remember, a lot of these Skidoos and pictures don't link up to exact places within Steve's universe. They link up to essentially wherever they link up to. Sometimes it's obviously on Earth, and other times they seem to be their own dimensions. And if some of them can be quote-unquote fictional places, or allows the user to travel into places normally considered fictional but exist somewhere in the multiverse dimension kind of thing, then that leaves all kinds of broken abilities. Oh, Steve needs some armor? Just steal Iron Man's armor because he looked at a comic book, skidooed it, took the armor, and skidooed out. Need Thor's hammer? Well, you might not be able to lift it, but you need Spider-Man's spider for something? Ah, got it right here. And just think of any absurd item in fiction, they could theoretically pull it out of nowhere. And yes, a Skidoo is a two-way portal, so they could portal back. So just grab the ultimate nullifier and just watch your opponents regret existence. So what does this all mean? Quite frankly, you power scaling types have been sleeping on Steve from Blue's Clues. He is clearly, or at least could be, one of the most powerful characters in all of fiction. And it gets even worse when you know the fact he's not trained to fight or even really use his ability, seemingly. Who knows how far this ability could be stretched if someone was to actually try. Ultimately, it's just kind of a goofy, silly video, but it is something to think about how powerful this Skidoo truly is. A simple joke made for a children's show, but all the power you could ever imagine. Yeah? Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.